Welcome back, everyone. This is the Oracle Looks Beyond the Leading Edge, Q&A Episode 2. This is going to be another piece here where we're experimenting with this podcast format. A little different than our teaching videos when we're doing our decodings, where the visuals are important to pay attention to. This one, if you just want to listen while you're doing other things as well, it'll totally work. This is going to be a longer piece, so if you have other things to do while you're listening, that will work. After we uploaded our last decoding piece, we received another really great question that Kali D posed in her fabulous comments. And again, as has happened many times before, her questions and comments were right on time. Such synchronicity showing up again and again and again. So what I'm going to do is read Kali D's comment and the questions that she posed within it, and we'll get to answering it after that. Again, a big thank you to you, Kali D, for such a great conversation that we've been developing that again has inspired this important piece. So we're jumping into it here with what Kali D had to say. She says, I do know that they will go to any lengths to deceive to get what they want, especially when they know they can get away with everything so easily. I have no attachment to celebs or no doubts about the major hoaxing going on. The only thing that boggles my mind is why do they go through all this rigmarole? And I just have to interject here. This made me smile because rigmarole, that is my word. I love it. I use it all the time. All right, get back to it here. So Kali D goes on. They write scripts for every little thing, hiring thousands of crisis actors, filming events, drills, or news stories in advance, and passing them off as breaking news. When at this point, they really don't need to do as much to keep their positions at the top. Most people are content with letting other people manage the complexities of the world. Sure, they all complain, but aren't motivated to do anything about it or wouldn't even know where to begin. Now that's a big point we're going to get into here. But we're going to answer these questions in not order that they were posed. We're going to do the last question first, so we're going to get into some of this juicier stuff at the end. So you'll want to watch the whole video to get some of these answers to these fantastic questions. All right, Kali D goes on. That said, I also can't believe these same elite make, write, produce, direct, film, costume, and set design, write epic musical scores, and hire all the actors to make movies that sometimes take several years to complete and that people forget about less than an hour after watching the movie. Oh, such a great point. Definitely going to get into this. She goes on, I guess make-believe is their favorite thing to do, whether they need to do it or not. The merry pranksters. Very cool about the Super Bowl insight. Do you give any thought to how Gematria aligns with the sky story for sports outcomes and all the other scripted events of the world? One YouTube guy makes all the sports predictions using Gematria only. He calls out the hoaxes, yet he's adamant that the deaths in the news are actual deaths. Your quote-unquote number may be up at any time when you're in the limelight. I mean, who with half a brain cell would sign any kind of contract knowing that you or a family member, including your child, could be offered on a whim at any stage in life? So yeah, there's just so much stuff out there that it's no wonder that people are turned off by any mention of so-called conspiracy theories. I have no problem wading through endless quote-unquote stuff to make even one discovery of truth. And if I was a betting type, such discoveries could even result in winning a bit of coin. #touchdown. Can't wait to see all the rest of the predictive programming theories about the halftime rituals and subliminal mind control commercials. All right, now that I've read these scrumptious comments and questions within them, let's load up our plates with some hopefully equally delicious answers to chew on. Let's start with your last question first. Gematria. Have we given any thought to how Gematria ties in here with what we've been getting into with our decodings? All right, well, first, yes, we are familiar with Gematria. For those of you who are listening and are not familiar with it, all I'm going to do here is give a really brief nutshell explanation of it. And that is that Gematria is, in certain languages, there are numerical values assigned to the letters that make up our words. An example of this I think most people would be familiar with are when you're seeing Roman numerals on an old building perhaps. Whereas we've looked at in previous decodings, when we've been decoding the major arcana of the tarot deck, the cards are numbered there using Roman numerals. Like, for instance, the number 5 card we recently looked at, the Hierophant. As we saw, it's numbered with the V symbol. And as we know, V is a letter in our alphabet that we use to form words too. But when used as a number in the Roman system, its numeric value is 5. But it's also believed that what is known as Gematria specifically began as part of the ancient Jewish tradition, where you find Gematria applied to the language of Hebrew. Now, the tradition as it is now evolved throughout time has made its way into the quote-unquote truth community, where many have looked deeper into these patterns in these numbers showing up over and over again in mainstream news stories, sports outcomes, pretty much everywhere, right? Where certain numbers, like for instance, the numbers 33 or 666, just coincidentally keep showing up. Now, those talking about decoding things using Gematria these days are using our currently used English alphabet to do it, which, by the way, our alphabet that we use today is derived from the Canaanite/Phoenician civilization. And we've only just begun to connect the dots so far in our decodings back to this Phoenician or Canaanite culture. But like I said, we're going to be getting much deeper into that in the future as we go. Point is, our alphabet that we use today to write and speak English, as I am right now, was derived from the ancient Phoenician alphabet. So the Gematria that some in the quote-unquote truth community are talking about involves, for instance, taking a certain person's name that shows up in one of these reported stories and assigning a number that corresponds to each letter, looking for patterns. So in this case, in English, right, our English alphabet, we have 26 letters. So you assign the numbers A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3 in sequence, right, all the way through Z, which is assigned a numeric value of 26. However, when you're doing Gematria, an additional calculation is needed if you have a letter assigned to a number that is greater than 9, or in other words, has 2 digits. Each number must be reduced to a single digit before you take the sum of all the single-digit numbers assigned to each letter. You can find an example of this when doing the Gematria of my name. Shannon, right? Shannon. So the S would be 17, the H 8, the A 1, the N's 13, the O 14, and then another N corresponding to the number 13. So you can see for all the letters in my name that have 2 digits, let's start with S, the very first letter of my name. You're going to add the 1 and the 7 together, right, from the 17, to reduce it to 8, the single-digit number, and that corresponds to the letter S. So after you've reduced each of these letters to a single digit in this way, you then add all of these single digits together, which will likely yield a sum that is more than 1 digit, right? Like in this case, when you do it with my name, you get a sum of 34. So what we're going to do is then reduce that again by adding 3 plus 4 and getting the single digit number 7. So in this example, the English Gematria of my name can be talked about being either corresponding to the number 34 or all the way reduced to the number 7. So what, right? What's all that supposed to mean? You might be thinking this if this is the first time you've ever heard of Gematria. Well, in the example of using the numbers that my name corresponds to in Gematria, it doesn't tell you much, actually. But what if my name had a numeric value of 33 instead of 34? Would that automatically be some kind of evidence of my being in the, quote, club, right, of being a Mason, for example, which because of the 33 degrees found in Freemasonry, that this 33 number is corresponding to and so often talked about in the truth community, well, does that mean if it was 33 that my name summed to, does that tell you anything about my status of whether or not I'm a Freemason? No. It wouldn't change the fact that I'm not a Freemason, but I don't think that because my name doesn't sum correctly to 33 has a thing to do with it. But then again, see, I'm using my real name, right, that my mother gave me at birth, and I'm not in the club. So it appears to be a different story when you are in the club and when you are playing one of their characters. Because there's no denying just how often just these numbers I've already mentioned, 33 and 666, show up all over who we call the Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire Secret Drama Society stories. And I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about when you mention the guy on YouTube who does use Gematria, and he's done this for years, if it's the same guy I'm thinking of, to do his own decodings on YouTube. And though I would say that some of it's interesting enough, I do know this. It's far, far more valuable for us to focus more on learning this language of symbol in sequence and pattern, as we've been doing here. Because as we already begun to take a look at in our previous decodings, the whole story, including the numbers, are right there together in the real oracle or the real all-seeing eye. We've already seen, for example, where the numbers 9 and 11 come together in the constellations of Cetus and Pisces, specifically at that time of the year, to name a specific huge event. And also how Pisces, right, again, looks like that Roman numeral V that shows up on the Hierophant of the Tarot card, as we've seen. And think of how the numbers that were encoded into the story of Jesus according to the Gospel of Luke that we just looked at, where Jesus is in the temple at 12, where we decoded that corresponds to the cycle of Jupiter that takes approximately 12 years to complete, and then Jesus' ministry beginning at age 30, corresponding to the planet Saturn's approximate 30-year cycle. So I think it's far more valuable to learn this symbolic language and the template from which it comes, rather than spending time learning Gematria in any depth. And again, this sucks to have to say this, but those talking about Gematria in this way on YouTube and in other sources, they're likely shills, or just again, not all the way yet, finding themselves with the truths that are most important for all of us to place our focus on. They just haven't gone all the way yet. I hope that helped in answering your question specifically about Gematria. But now, tying this idea that signing a contract to get in with the Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire Secret Drama Society means that these people who are doing so know in advance that they may have to sacrifice one of their family members, or they themselves can have their number, right, come up at any time as a result of selling their soul. This pretty much sums up much of the information out there in the quote-unquote truth community about this, as you correctly noted, Kali D. But knowing what we do now, after having made the two huge discoveries that we have, one about who the Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire Secret Drama Society really are, and two, about what they're really doing in all of these sky stories they're acting out, especially after seeing so much in the way specifically that we have, that so many of these Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire Secret Drama Society cult members fake their deaths. We know that believing that these people are dying by the numbers for real, that isn't real. They're killing off the characters in the story, not each other. So they may be killing off their characters in this weird, obsessed with numbers, tied to Gematria kind of way. But I can think of 10 huge examples right off the top of my head, right? And many of them we've presented in our private video series, where they've faked their death, and then, it's all supposedly by the numbers that they really died. That's what we're told, right? From these people decoding all of these events using Gematria, that their number was up. But we later find them on TV or on a YouTube channel that they've made, playing another character with a different name, with a slightly or drastically different looking appearance. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that these crazy cult members aren't doing some really crazy stuff and probably doing it to each other. But I don't think that what's being presented, that they're killing each other off by the numbers, is accurate at all. Now to the real super scrumptious stuff here. Why? Why do they go through all this rigmarole? You are so right to point out that all that effort goes into an unbelievably enormous production, and one after another. Not just on the fakery that's pretty much in every story in the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week news cycle, but in their productions in entertainment as well. And as you so perfectly put it, most people just consume, and then forget all about it an hour later. But do they? And is this all just because these weirdo cult members just can't get enough of playing dress up like a bunch of children and just won't grow up? As funny as that sounds, yes, that's actually part of it, and a big part of it, at least I think, but it's also much, much more than that. So let's get into that now, because I think that's probably the most scrumptious part of all the comments and questions that you asked, Callie D. So quite simply put, this is the Liar Liar Pants on Fire Secret Drama Society's religion, their belief system, their cult ideology, and it goes back to a very ancient past. These are connections that we're attempting to establish as we've been doing our decoding videos one by one to make these connections. From how I see it, I think they do believe that they were created by the Creator to be the ruling class, the masters, while we were created to be the slave class. And don't get me wrong, there's a whole lot more to that statement, but when you distill it all down, it's about them believing that they are the masters and we are the slaves. And when we look around at the current conditions of our collective condition right now, have we honestly given them any reason to really challenge their insane beliefs? Based on the fact that 99% of people are wearing masks for the past 10 months now, that's right in our face evidence of 99% of us being 100% initiated. A better word maybe is indoctrinated by the cult to behave as a slave. Whether we believe we're slaves or not, we 100% believe whatever we want, but we 100% behave as if we're slaves. So in that case, from their perspective, complain all you want. That's all you ever do. But you don't do anything beyond any of that to make it any better. So this time, we'll have you muzzle your mouth to keep your loud complaints quieted down while we continue about the real work of the world. These are things you so rightly pointed out, Callie D. Most people really couldn't care less about anything going on around them right now. Certainly not enough to do even the smallest thing about it. So looking at that again, from the Liar Liar Pants on Fire Secret Drama Society's point of view, our collective state of cowardice, apathy, nihilism, gullibility, and love for all the wrong things makes us deserving of being treated as their slaves, and so we are treated accordingly. The Liar Liar Pants on Fire Secret Drama Society cult members who have this as their indoctrinated system of belief have it reinforced not only by the cult that they're in, but also by all of us. Don't get me wrong, these cult members and what they've done are a massive problem that we have to face. But we're going to get nowhere with that until we face ourselves collectively. We are the much bigger problem. Because you're right, Callie D. All they really had to do to continue their positions at the quote-unquote top is to keep playing dress up like children while telling the truth to us on one level and lying all over it on every other level. And sadly, in our current collective condition, that really is all it takes. But ultimately, who is responsible for it being this easy to do this to us? Yeah, they put forth all that effort, but when you step back and look at it, it is pretty easy. It's our responsibility that this happened. Because whether we like it or not, this is how real natural law in this real reality works. Yes, they go through enormous lengths to create all these productions on every media, on every screen. But are we really just consuming it and forgetting all about it an hour later? No, we don't. It gets into our subconscious. And all the consuming, the more and more of it, all in different forms, but all from the same source, that has a cumulative effect. And ultimately, this becomes our entire meaning-making system going on in our subconscious. And then you act accordingly. Just like the slave, they just know you were. And no matter how you slice it or try to justify it, choosing to be a slave that simply wants to abdicate all the real work that really does need to be done to other people who know better, right? That's the justification. Well, that's just lazy and immoral. And many are learning now the real consequences that come from being a nihilistic, apathetic, gullible coward. And I've said it before, but it's so worth repeating. There's no big mass awakening required, and I don't think one's coming. There's no need to take up arms and call for any revolutions. None of that's needed. Just being an adult and telling a child no and sticking to it is enough. You just have to say no to all of this ridiculousness that's now trying to pretend that it's quote-unquote culture and stop worshiping it. But you have to first know that that's what you're doing and why. And the why is because being a slave, in the end, makes you just as evil and insane as those who believe they are your masters. The Liar Liar Pants on Fire Secret Drama Society cult members, I think they know like I do. The real creator of everything here, they know that that's real. I mean, all you have to do is be exposed to the real knowledge about the real oracle or the real all-seeing eyes we've discovered, and it essentially ends all debate about an intelligent designer that made it this way. The cyclical harmony that spins above all of our heads in the real creator's heavens shows on the biggest scale that we can currently handle in our consciousness as it is. It shows the creator's awesome signature, and there's no way any of this happened by scientism's atheistic, nihilistic view, their random Big Bang theory. No freaking way. But this is why all the garbage that we're taught about quote-unquote outer space is put out here by these cult members, to keep you looking at their fakery and their new fake expert scientist gods, instead of connecting to the real creator, the real source of real intelligence, and the only real source of power. Because 99% of us have done something different. We've masked our own faces, and in doing so, turned our face given to us, each with a unique one, gifted to us from the power of our Creator. That was our collective choice. A physical choice, yes, but it was a spiritual choice made first, to turn away from the real Creator and take our guidance from these masked, fake, idol gods. This is all about spiritual power. It's about control of souls. And our collective choice here to be spiritually ignorant, we have been collectively indoctrinated because of it over this past year into the Liar Liar Pants on Fire Secret Drama Society's new religion for this age. Their New Testament God that they've put forward to guide every choice, every decision that you now make in every aspect of your life. Dorona is 99% of people's new God, whether they will admit it or not. And we can get more into why I think it was specifically this faceless, invisible enemy to fear in another video, but I think we've at least gotten a pretty good start on answering your questions here. And I hope in the process I have answered your scrumptious questions, Kali D. And I thank you again for giving me the opportunity to offer some more delicious things for us to chew on. We are the bigger problem. So the question is, what are we, without excuses, going to do about it? Keep telling ourselves that no one will listen to us, shut ourselves, censor ourselves, shut up completely and just stop talking, going along with this immoral and evil slavery? That's the question each and every single one of us has to answer individually. And there is a real creator that will be, we're going to find ourselves all having to answer that question to as well. With that, I think we're going to end this one here, and we'll pick things back up in our next decoding. But until then, be well.